city, irrigation, and so many other benefits that come out of the project. This must benefit the real people of the two affected counties and will also bring development to our country, great country, Kenya, but not to benefit those who have come as partners or those who purport to bring the PPP, and then they are the ones who have the greater benefits, but Kenyans are left languishing in poverty. I do.
Thank you. This project, Mr. Senator Wambua, you see, has really generated a lot of interest. And under 52.1, you know, this statement is just an interest or topical concern. So maybe you can follow up so that the CS Water and Irrigation can come and update the Senate on the plans that they are doing on this particular project. It is in Tharaka-Nithi, but the ecosystem, including Wajir, Garissa, Meru, all that area will be affected by that big project. I'm told it is second from Aswan High Dam in Egypt. So you can go that route so that the CS can come and update the Senate on this project.
Thank you, the Speaker, for pointing me to that direction. The Speaker, can I plead with the Chair that you direct me to liaise with the PS for purposes of the PS appearing before the House to appraise the House on this matter.
The CS, not the PS.
The CS.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, if I could really ask you to direct that way, then it will make my work very easy.
I so direct.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The next thing, Senator Kinyua, Laikipia County. I've sent that statement is dropped. Next is Senator Karen Nyamu.
Mr. Speaker, I don't understand what is the excitement.
You should be happy that there is that excitement.
Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 52.1 to make a statement on an issue of general topical concern and national importance, namely the state of the roads in the country. Mr. Speaker, the importance of roads in the day-to-day lives of citizens. Mr. Speaker, protect me from Senator Cherargei thumping and making too much noise with his feet. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, the importance of roads in the day-to-day lives of citizens cannot be overemphasized, as they are a critical infrastructure enabling ease of movement of people and goods. Unfortunately, many of our roads are in poor condition, characterized by large potholes, inadequate or non-existent road signs, and insufficient markings. The state of our roads has impacted users and the country at large negatively, most notably the increase in road accidents. Mr. Speaker, we acknowledge that while many road accidents are caused by overspeeding, reckless driving, loss of control by drivers, and drunk driving, as exemplified by the recent Mbagathi River accident where a Nairobi-bound Naboka Sacco bus plunged into the river, resulting in 9 fatalities, the dilapidated condition of our roads has also significantly contributed to numerous accidents across the country. And I take this opportunity to extend my condolences to the family of the Mbagathi River accident victims. Mr. Speaker, poor road networks in many parts of the country have led to job losses, wasted time, and increased operating costs. Despite the government's efforts to improve the transport infrastructure, some major roads remain in poor state. According to the International Monetary Fund, IMF, poor roads in developing countries hinder inclusive growth. Mr. Speaker, I believe that some of our roads can be redesigned in order to improve road safety. For example, the 21-kilometer stretch at Salga, once an accident black spot, saw a reduction in accidents by over 90% after a concrete barrier was constructed in 2018. Mr. Speaker, the government must develop tangible solutions to the challenges facing our road network, not only in Nairobi and major cities, but across the entire country. Roads are essential to meeting the needs of the Kenyan economy and the population at large. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, Kenya registered approximately 48 fatalities per 100,000 people. There is no reason why Kenya should not improve its road safety score by ensuring roads are designated and constructed with safety in mind. I urge the government to deploy all measures necessary to reduce road accidents, fatalities. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Now we go to the statements under 53.1. We start with I urge Senator for Kisumu County to read these two statements. First.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have two statements. I will start with the statement on the state of Jaramogi Oginga Odinga grounds and the Victoria Park and the establishment of other parks in Kisumu County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Labour and Social Welfare regarding the state of Jaramogi Oginga Odinga grounds and Victoria Park, which were closed for renovation in 2020 and reopened in 2024 with slight modifications, as well as the establishment of other public parks in Kisumu County. Target 7, Sustainable Development Goals, SDG number 11, to which Kisumu County fully subscribes, requires that the county should provide universal access to safe, inclusive, accessible, and green public spaces for all residents by the year 2030. In a statement, the committee should, Mr. Speaker, 1, provide a breakdown of the funds allocated for the renovation of Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Sports Ground and Victoria Park in Kisumu County, a list of companies contracted to undertake the works, and table documentary evidence indicating whether the right channels of procurement were followed in awarding the contracts. 2, find the variance between the architectural designs and the completed projects, if any, stating any cost implications. 3, establish whether there are plans to allow traders to operate their businesses in the parks and the criteria to be used in allocating space to the said traders. And lastly, state any plans by the county government to develop similar parks and recreation spaces in Muhoroni, Nyakach, Nyando, Kisumu East, Kisumu West, and semi-sub-counties in Kisumu County, indicating the budgetary allocations and completion timelines for such projects. Mr. Speaker, sir, my second statement is on the state of early childhood development education, ECD, in Kisumu County. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education regarding the state of early childhood development, or ECD, centers in Kisumu County. Article 186 of the Kenya Constitution 2010, as read together with Section 9 of Part 2 of the 4th Schedule, devolves pre-primary education and child care facilities to the county government. Additionally, Section 5 of the County Government Act 2012 provides for the functions and powers of county governments, including the establishment, management, and regulation of ECD centers. In the statement, Mr. Speaker, the committee should, 1, provide an overview of the current status of all early childhood ECD facilities in Kisumu County, indicating rationale for building new ECD centers instead of completing the existing ones. 2, provide details of all teachers employed in each of the ECD centers in the county, stating their qualifications and remuneration, including any other benefits paid to them. 3, state steps the county government has taken to improve the quality of learning and training programs provided in ECD centers in the county. And lastly, establish the criteria used to determine whether which ECD projects are prioritized for completion and state measures in place to address the challenges faced in the construction of ECD centers. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Aminda Kibwana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My statement is on a fatal altercation involving Kenya Forest Service officer and the late Master Stephen Mwangi at Maji Mazuri in Eldama Ravine. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defence and Foreign Relations regarding the circumstances leading to the fatal altercation involving Master Stephen Mwangi, a Form 3 student at Majimazuri Day School, and Kenya Forest Service KFS officers at Majimazuri in Eldama Ravine, Baringo County. In the statement, the committee should provide a detailed account of the events leading to the fatal altercation between Master Stephen Mwangi and Kenya Forest Service officers, including the actions that transpired before, during, and after the altercations. Number 2, disclose the status of investigations into the unfortunate incident, including the parties involved in the altercations and any preliminary findings or outcomes of such investigation. Number 3, give a review of the general conduct and protocols observed by KFS officers in executing their duties, particularly in matters involving public engagement and enforcing activities within the forests in Kenya. Number 4, elucidate whether there are many existing policies, guidelines, or training programs in place to KFS officers regarding engagement with civilians and conflict resolution strategies. And number 5, highlight measures being taken or proposed by the government to prevent similar incidents in the future with a view to improve accountability, ensuring the protection of citizens' rights during law enforcement operations. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mbete Montet.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Request for a statement on the operations of the National Council for Nomadic Education in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education regarding the operations of the National Council of Nomadic Education in Kenya. In the statement, the committee should, 1, table a report of schools and programs per county founded by the council from 2015 to date. Number 2, provide details of the budget allocation for the council from 2015 to date, including any other funding by stakeholders and development partners. Number 3, state the criteria used in determination of the learning institutions under the council and the manner of implementation of the programs, and whether there are any plans by the council to expand the program to cover learners in areas that were hard hit by recent floods. And finally, explain whether the council contracts companies to run the programs under them, and also tabling a list of companies contracted and all specifics of the contracts. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you. Ladies are doing so well this afternoon. Senator Shakila Abdallah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Request for statement on transportation challenges along Lamu-Gariseni Road at Gamba, Tana River County. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek statement from the Standing Committee on Roads, Transport and Housing concerning the recent flooding and transportation challenges along the Lamu-Gariseni Road at Gamba, Tana River County. On the statement, committee should, number 1, detail measures the government has implemented to provide alternative means of transportation, such as the deployment of Kenya Navy rescue boats in response to the limitation of small private boats which have proven unsafe, as highlighted by incidents like the Madogo boat accident at the Tana River. Number 2, explain the immediate measures the government has taken to ensure the safety of residents currently using private boats to navigate flood areas in Gamba. Number 3, state how the government is coordinating with local emergency services and disaster response teams to assist the affected population and ensure timely and effective transportation solution during the crisis, providing details on the nature of these collaborations. And number 4, outline the long-term infrastructure project being considered to ensure the safe transportation in Gamba, given the annual recurrence of the transportation challenges every year. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Good. Senator Chalgai Samson, you have 3 statements. We will read them simultaneously.
Mr. Speaker, I'll try and read, and thank you. Request for a statement on the status of dam construction projects in the country. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources regarding the status of dam construction projects in the country. In the statement, the committee should, 1, provide a status update on the construction of Umar and Basada dams in Kitui County and Marsabit County, respectively, explaining any variation in the bill of quantities and or contractual commencement plus completion dates. Mr. Speaker, number 2, evaluate whether due process was followed in tendering and awarding of the contracts for the construction of the said dams. Number 3, Mr. Speaker, disclose the identities of the respective contractors and subcontractors, providing a breakdown of all payments made to each so far, along with the reasons for the payments. Number 4, Mr. Speaker, provide a status update on all other incomplete projects for the construction of dams in the country, provide a list of the respective contractors and the payments made to them so far. And finally, Mr. Speaker, on this statement, outline any actions taken against persons responsible for misappropriation of funds or irregular variation of the terms of contract for the projects, stating whether the committee could order a special audit of the projects by Office of the Auditor General. Mr. Speaker, number 2, request for statement on collection by Kenya Revenue Authority, KRA, for the financial year 2023-2024. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the Kenya Revenue Authority, KRA, revenue collection targets for the financial year 2023-2024. Mr. Speaker, in the statement, the committee should, 1, state the measures that have been put in place by KRA to ensure that they meet their set target on revenue collection for the financial year 2023-2024. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, sir, state the reasons for the anticipated failure in meeting revenue collection target as reported by KRA, which has observed the tax collector is likely to miss the target by about Kenya shillings 300 billion. So, Speaker, number 3, provide reasons that led to the decline in pay as you earn or payee collections totaling about Kenya shillings 72.3 billion, despite the Commission having applied new strategies. So, Speaker, sir, appraise the Senate on the systems that have been put in place by KRA to ensure tax compliance by all sectors and improve tax collection in the country. And finally, Mr. Speaker, sir, on this statement, state the measures taken by Kenya Revenue Authority to ensure tax evasion is eradicated, provide details of all pending major tax disputes, and state the amounts collected from the previous disputes. Mr. Speaker, and the final statement that all senators, I request they should listen to keenly, on the junior secondary school. Request for statement despite the industrial action. Request for the statement on the fair labor practice by the Teacher Service Commission, TSC, in the employment of junior secondary schools teachers, JSS. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education regarding the unfair labor practices by the Teacher Service Commission, TSC, in employing duly trained and qualified teachers as interns in junior secondary schools or JSS. In the statement, Mr. Speaker, the committee should, 1, elaborate on any measures by the Ministry of Education as are taken to ensure full implementation of the competent-based curriculum, CBC, especially considering that the teachers are currently overwhelmed, poorly equipped, and unmotivated to implement the CBC. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, clarify why the Teacher Service Commission, TSE, continues to violate the rights of trained teachers by employing them as interns at junior secondary schools, JSS, and retaining them as such, which are over 46,000, for the second consecutive year, despite prior assurances of absorption on permanent terms, then proceeding to recruit new teachers without renewal of contracts of those currently serving as interns in our country. Mr. Speaker, number 3, state the reasons for the Ministry of Education and Teacher Service Commission, TSC, failed to comply with the Employment and Labor Relations Court judgment on petition number E223 of 2023, which found out that the JSS teachers were unfairly treated and discriminated against as they were denied the terms and conditions of service ordinarily enjoyed by trained teachers, explaining whether their terms, including medical cover and pension, will be improved. And finally, Mr. Speaker, sir, state whether the Ministry of Education has completed the process of interviewing teachers for promotion, explaining why Teacher Service Commission, TAC, failed to promote teachers who automatically qualify due to experience, including the junior secondary school teachers who possess similar training as other teachers in secondary school. Senator Samson Kiprotich Cherargei, as the Senator of Embu said. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Okay, Senator Wakoli Wafula.
Asante. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations regarding the death of a pedestrian in a hit-and-run accident that occurred near Chabera Shopping Center in Nyamira County. In the statement, the committee should, A, find out the circumstances leading to the death of a pedestrian, Mrs. Ruth Ayuma Inganga, in a hit-and-run accident by a vehicle registration number KCW 636W Toyota Axio near Chabera Shopping Center in Nyamira County. B, state the ongoing efforts by the police to apprehend the driver of the said vehicle for their arraignment before court of law. And C, inform the Senate of the immediate actions taken by the police at Chabera Police Post, where the incident was first reported, to ensure the arrest of the vehicle's driver. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Second statement, Honorable Speaker. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources regarding the status of public land belonging to the county government of Bungoma. In the statement, the committee should, A, provide details on the acreage and location of all parcels of land belonging to the county government of Bungoma, accompanied by the corresponding legal documentation that proves ownership. B, clarify whether the said parcels of land are being utilized effectively and for the designated purpose, and if not, state any plans to utilize them to the benefit of the residents of Bungoma County. C, table the report of the task force set up to identify grabbed land in the county by the then governor of Bungoma County in 2019 and provide a status update on the implementation of its recommendations. D, outline steps taken by the county government to reclaim all public land held by individuals. And E, outline any measures put in place to ensure adherence to the local physical and land use development plan in all public centers in the county. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
That's the end of the statements. We go to the next order.
Order number 8, the Meteorology Bill, Senate Bills number 45 of 2023, division.
Next order, you can see we don't have the numbers for division.
Order number 9, the Houses of Parliament Bicameral Relations Bill, National Assembly Bills number 44 of 2023, second reading.
So under number 9, I can see Senator Buru Oginga is interested to speak on it. Senator Oburu Oginga, we are on under number 9, the Houses of Parliament Bicameral Relations Bill. If you are interested to contribute on that.
On order number 9.
Yes.
No, Mr. Speaker, I do not wish to contribute on that.
Okay. Then where is the move around to reply? Because there is no other senator interested to speak on this. Or we defer to next. We defer to the next. We defer that bill to next week. Next order. Maybe. So next order, number 13. Or yeah, then we.
Order number 10, Committee of the Whole, the Gambling Control Bill, National Assembly Bills number 70 of 2023, division.
Next order, next order.
Order number 11, Committee of the Whole, the Tea Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 1 of 2023.
Next order.
Order number 12, Committee of the Whole, the Statutory Instruments Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bills number 2 of 2023.
Next order. The one she's moving is 12. Okay. Yes, I want to defer from order number 10, 11, and 12. So we go to order number 13.
Order number 13, the National Construction Authority Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bills number 59 of 2022, second reading.
You can now move the bill, Deputy Majority Leader.
The deputy.
It is the Deputy Majority Leader, the Principal Assistant.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the National Construction Authority Bill, National Assembly Bills number 59 of 2022, is now read and second time. Mr. Speaker, sir, the National Construction Authority Bill, National Assembly Bill number 59 of 2022, was published in the Kenya Gazette Supplement number 189 of 2022, dated 18th November 2022. The bill was considered by the National Assembly and passed on 6th December 2023. Thereafter, the bill was referred to the Senate for consideration. The principal objective of the bill is to amend the National Construction Authority Act, number 41 of 2011, to ensure women, youth, persons living with disability can have startup business and can apply to be registered as contractors under categories 6, 7, and 8, while being exempted from paying the prescribed fee. The amendment seeks to provide for the recognition of women, youth, and persons living with disability as marginalized groups and cushion them from the burden of paying registration fees. Mr. Speaker, sir, in the recent past, there have been initiatives to promote the inclusion of women, youth, and persons with disability in the business sector, including the enactment of the Public Procurement and the Disposal Act. This has been done with the focus on providing equal opportunities for employment and access to business opportunities for these groups. It's noteworthy that women, youth, and persons with disability are increasingly taking roles in the construction industry. By exempting these groups from the prescribed registration fees, it will help remove the financial barriers and encourage these groups to pursue entrepreneurship in the construction industry, ultimately leading to the development of more accessible and equitable infrastructure and building, taking into account the needs and perspectives of diverse groups. For this reason, the importance of the bill cannot be overrated. Mr. Speaker, sir, specifically Clause 2 of the bill seeks to amend Section 17 of the National Construction Authority Act to provide that women, youth, and persons with disabilities who apply to be registered by the board as contractors shall be exempted from paying the prescribed fee where the business is a startup venture, and further where the fee does not exceed 15,000 Kenya shillings. Mr. Speaker, sir, in concluding, the passage of the bill will contribute to a more sustainable and socially responsible construction sector. I therefore urge honorable senators to support the important bill. Signed by Senator Alon Cheriot. I call Senator of Nandi to second.
Chalgei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, as I second, I want to congratulate the Senate Deputy Majority Leader. He is taking over reins of power this week that his boss is not around. Mr. Speaker, this is a straightforward amendment, and I would have expected Senator Tabitha, not Mutinda, Keroche, to tell us, you know, she's one of the best entrepreneurs, and she's the one who prepares your favorite drink most of the time. So I would have expected her to give us...
Senator Mohamed Faki.
My learned friend, Senator Chalgei, referring to Senator Tabitha Keroche.
Senator Chalgei, have your seat.
Referring Senator Tabitha Keroche as Senator Tabitha Mutinda. Yet we know Senator Tabitha Keroche and Senator Tabitha Mutinda are two different distinguished senators in this house.
And he collected himself after that trip of the mount. He collected himself immediately. Maybe you can refer to Senator Tabitha Keroche properly, without mixing names.
My apologies, Mr. Speaker, sir. I think Senator Faki is a bit confused because both Mutindas are from UDA, the ruling party. They are, the Tabithas are both female senators. They are from UDA, they are entrepreneurs, they are married and what have you, and they are beautiful, all of them. So, Mr. Speaker, I think I can understand what Senator Faki is going through. Mr. Speaker, in seconding the bill, I would have expected, as I say, Senator Keroche, the distinguished senator of Nakuru and the future governor of Nakuru, to tell us what she has been doing, the magic she has been doing to build a multi-billion-dollar industry. She is one of the celebrated industrialists in this country, very industrious. She is a leader. She is one of the few senators, female senators that were elected in this house. One on our side, because two actually, because Jubilee crossed over to the majority side, Senator Dulo, and the other side, of course, Senator of Machakos, Senator Kava Mama. So, Madam Speaker, she's among the few. And jokingly on the street, Mr. Speaker, they normally refer that county as Nakuru girls. Mr. Speaker, in supporting this amendment, the work of NCA can be seen. Although, Mr. Speaker, we have had many challenges with NCA. The most of the collapsing buildings. You saw the other day when the floods became too much, a building collapsed within, I think, is it the Nairobi metropolis? And lives has been lost. We have many buildings that are substandard, that are collapsing daily, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as even we push for this amendment, I want to challenge the NCA to do due diligence. Mr. Speaker, I think in future, when a building collapses, the NCA officials must be charged with manslaughter because they are the ones who are approving these buildings. I remember when the Bunge Tower issue came up, we were discussing about certificate of occupation by Public Works. And these are Public Works and NCA work together. So, Speaker, as the supervisor of both the contractors and what happens at the construction site, Mr. Speaker, you are aware of the affordable housing program of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Ruto. We are going to have enormous Kenyans, and I want to encourage young people, Mr. Speaker, it would not have been a better time for this amendment to come than now. Because one of the better bottom-up economic transformation agenda by His Excellency the President and our government is the issue of affordable housing. And we are encouraging, Mr. Speaker, young people to get to construction. So this amendment, Mr. Speaker, as they say in Bible, there are people like the sons of Issachar who knew times and signs. This is the sign to many young people and women that we have amended the law to give you a leeway to construct companies, to participate. That was viewed, Mr. Speaker, as an industry that was only exclusive for some individuals, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is construction of economic stimulus plans. The markets that we are building, even in Marimanti, even in Meru, Makutano, many other places, even in Nandi Hills, Kapsabet, Kabiyet, Monsoriat, we are building under economic stimulus plan markets. Even in Kaiboi, we are building economic stimulus plan of markets. It means this decade and this century, Mr. Speaker, sir, belongs to construction and development. So many young people, Mr. Speaker, they always ask, and I want to challenge young people across the country, you need to take charge so that you are not misused and abused by politicians, Mr. Speaker. But personally, I don't do that. But I want to say a few politicians who have selfish interests will want to give handouts to young people. The only way, and I want to challenge my colleagues as Senate here, and even elected leaders, let us assist the young people to register companies. I know, Mr. Speaker, and you know we amended the euphoria on the ACPO, Mr. Speaker, where we say 30% of tender and contract should be awarded to young people. Mr. Speaker, if today, and I want to challenge OAG, Office of the Auditor General, Mr. Speaker, to do an audit, you will be shocked that the ACPO 30% that should be given to young people, women, people living with disabilities, Mr. Speaker, and I hope Senator Crystal Asike will speak to this. It is not the disabled. It is not the young. It is not the women. They are calling themselves senior youth. You find somebody running a youth company, but they are 70 years, 60 years, Mr. Speaker, and I think this amendment would have come at a better time because we want, Mr. Speaker, not to teach the young people to give them the fish, but to teach them how to fish. And I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, if today young people of Kenya take up this challenge and register companies and competitively get the awards of 30% as per the ACPO, Mr. Speaker, there will be less and no young people to be misused and abused in this country by selfish politicians, Mr. Speaker. Because whenever you go to rallies, you go to mandamanos, Mr. Speaker, the number of young people you get, the youth, are the majority, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, I want to challenge the youth, even as they, Mr. Speaker, you know, in this city and many other towns, and I've said there is what we call a luta. You disappear for 3 days. That is what happening. The young people, they disappear over the weekend, they go clapping, they go reverend, or they kupiga sherehe, Mr. Speaker. But they should know their future waits for them. The only way they can do is to register companies, Mr. Speaker, and that is why I want to challenge the Committee of Devolution, or even Public Accounts Committee where I sit. We must do audit to know in counties, for example, in Meru, in the 30% of the budget, how many young people's companies have been awarded tender in Meru, have been awarded in Nairobi, have been awarded in Nandi, in Mombasa, in anywhere across the country, Mr. Speaker, in Wajir, in Garissa, Mr. Speaker, in Lamu, so that as we do the law, let it not be a law on the paper, but it should have a value to many young people across the country, Mr. Speaker. And even startup bill, Mr. Speaker, we process on the startup bill in this country. The law has been, we process a startup bill on how to support. There were proposals even of giving young people tax holidays, tax exemptions, to encourage young people to build on their businesses going into the future. Mr. Speaker, you are aware over 60% of the population of Kenya, which is around 50 million, I know that they're about. Mr. Speaker, most of them, as you are aware, these 60%, Mr. Speaker, are young people. But we cannot have, Mr. Speaker, let us be fair. We cannot have the blue-collar jobs across the country that we can give to young people. There are many young people that are going through universities. They are graduating. The others are getting diplomas, degrees. You heard about junior secondary schools. There are 46,000 GSS interns in the country. And I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, even in Meru, and I know you have received SMSs from GSS. Mr. Speaker, I have not been having peace. I have been receiving messages, WhatsApp calls, WhatsApp messages, Facebook updates, Mr. Speaker, Facebook inboxes, Instagram and TikTok, by the junior secondary schools interns saying, what are you doing as a parliament to ensure we are employed on permanent and pensionable terms? I can bet you, Mr. Speaker, those 46,000 interns are young people. You saw the doctors' strike the other day. Most of those intern doctors, Mr. Speaker, are young people. And you heard the senator, and it is on record, Mr. Speaker, I shall be applying it to be expunged. You heard Senator Boni Kalwale saying, I went through Gumbaro, Mr. Speaker. And it is unanswered, and the Speaker of the day did not challenge him as a responsibility of fact in standing 105. I don't have a problem. I might have gotten the grade that Senator Kalwale said, but you should know we are many. If he meant it in bad faith that people who did not go to school are many, then I am happily part of that generation. But, Mr. Speaker, the point I'm making is that there are many interns, and going to Gumbaro is not a problem. There are many people who have become professors, who have PhD, who went through Gumbaro, and they are doing a wonderful job in our societies, Mr. Speaker. I am using an example, the strike that you saw of doctors. 90% of the doctors that were on street and clinical officers that were today demonstrating are young people. We cannot employ everybody. Even, Mr. Speaker, even us as members of parliament, we could not employ ourselves. We had to go to the people to seek for employment, Mr. Speaker. So when I had young people say, members of parliament saying, why don't you generate employment? Us themselves, as members of parliament, we could not hire ourselves, we could not employ ourselves. We had to go and beg for employment through the vote, Mr. Speaker, by the people, to be employed by the people. We could not employ ourselves. So what I'm just saying is that wherever we are, let us encourage young people you cannot be young forever, to seize up the opportunities. Even this one, registration fee, the fee does not exceed 15,000, Mr. Speaker. I don't think it's a lot of money. It is being fair to the hustlers. I know when they want to do startup businesses, Mr. Speaker, they can do it. It is something that we can remain in focus, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this NCA, when you look at the principle, the Parent Act on Section 17, in conclusion, talks about application for registration. Many young people, Mr. Speaker, to be registered as shall be exempted from paying the prescription registration fee. So in short, and Mr. Speaker, I pray and wish one day, this is what media should be giving headline, even in the national newspapers, that today the Parliament of Kenya through the Senate has proposed a law to ensure youth, PWDs, women, Mr. Speaker, can register free of charge. I'm praying for the day the media will run side stories on that line. Not talking about funny things that I don't want to mention on the floor of the House, Mr. Speaker. That is the prayer that our media, I know media are doing their job, they are exposing their ills, but I want to request them to run both positive and negative. When such a law comes, I expect it to receive prominence as a news so that young people can know we are doing something. Mr. Speaker, politicians and members of parliament are normally being blasted, Mr. Speaker, for doing nothing about the common man. But here we are working. But because we cannot go on the top of the mountain and use a trumpet to tell the world media should assist us, they cover more of negativity, Mr. Speaker. I want to encourage media as they write other stories to indicate that Parliament has moved to ensure that in terms of exemption from paying prescription registration fee, and I expect people, this is for hustlers, Mr. Speaker. This is in support of better. This is what we wanted for our country, where young people can be exempted from that, Mr. Speaker. Even in, and I'm happy, I think the other issues, Mr. Speaker, on registration of application for registration remains the same. Like technical qualifications will remain the same. Necessary experience in involving construction. Mr. Speaker, I wish in future, and I know when it comes to the committee of the whole, we need to look at the experience. Because we want young people who go to study engineering, at least, Mr. Speaker, 1 or 2 years. Don't put it much. And that is what we did in the County Attorney Act. where we ensure, Mr. Speaker, that we put in place, Mr. Speaker, an experience, because how many young people have experience? Mr. Speaker, many young people cannot get to employment because they are being told you must have experience, you must have a guarantee, you must have, in fact, Mr. Speaker, we should be looking even and exploring how young people can access credit. Because you tell them, bring collateral security. When you go home, your title deed belongs to your grandfather or your great-great-grandfather, and the bank wants to loan you collateral security. You don't have a logbook. So, Speaker, you have just finished school. That is the pain of most of the young people in this country. They want to do something, but they cannot do it because they need collateral security. They need logbook, they need title deed, they need pay slip. They cannot, Mr. Speaker. And you know the jobs, online jobs that, Mr. Speaker, the president is trying to pursue. You can't show, I know banks will take long to adapt. Because if you tell them you are working online, they don't understand how you earn your money, Mr. Speaker. And that is why the president is going to America, other places, to look for online jobs, Mr. Speaker. And that is why the ICT hubs, I know you are a member of National Assembly and constituency ICT hubs, we will build across the country, Mr. Speaker. Even in my place, there is a place called Taptengele, where you press and get dollars through the process of Taptengele technical, then you get dollars. To bankers, they don't understand how can they give a loan somebody who works online. But they need to know that young people are moving it differently. I know there were issue of Bitcoin, but that Bitcoin in the currency, South America country has collapsed, Mr. Speaker. So young people need the support. They cannot have collateral security. They can't have title deed. They cannot have a logbook. They cannot have payslip. And that is why as a nation we must see, and this is one of the ways to rectify, Mr. Speaker, in ensuring that place, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, finally, on this amendment, I agree. This is one of the bills that I have unconditional support towards it, although it comes from the National Assembly, Mr. Speaker. This is one of the brilliant bills. Let us give a chance to young people to feel they are part of us. Mr. Speaker, the reason most young people, and I heard Senator Miraj Abdullah in the morning saying the reason, many people don't know that in your tenure in National Assembly, you are very instrumental in ensuring that Muguka and Mira were put as part of the crop development, and it's a legal crop. The argument was that when you see young people consuming, even during daytime, it's not because there is a job, it is because they're idle. And they say the idle mind is a devil's workshop. I know, Mr. Speaker, there is issue of a hustler fund that His Excellency the President as his pet project of better economic, and we want the young people to borrow that money and put in place and generate their income, Mr. Speaker, through the hustler fund. And that hustler fund, you don't need collateral security. You only need your phone and yourself to be able to get that money, Mr. Speaker. So therefore, Mr. Speaker, I really want to appeal to the young people, women, and people living with disability, Mr. Speaker. Interestingly, Senate, almost 50%, Mr. Speaker, are young people. I expect all the young people in the Senate, including myself, to say something about this bill. Mr. Speaker, we have a number of women senators. I expect them to speak to this bill, Mr. Speaker. We have a number of people living with disabilities or differently able, led by Senator Crystal Asige, Senator Mbugua. I expect them to fine-tune and look at the law and tell us, is it okay? Is it in line with what their constituency wants to look like, Mr. Speaker? Are they comfortable? And that is what I wanted to put in place, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, going into the future, let us amend all laws that is possible within the counties. And I've challenged the Devolution Committee, Senator Abbas, the Senator Chairperson, should do an audit. The Finance and Budget Committee, I saw the Chairperson, Senator Captain Ali Roba, Governor. Finance and Budget should table a report on the compliance of 30%. We want to know what Meru, how many companies that belong to young people, even here in Nairobi through Senator Mutinda. And I'm happy the Vice Chairperson of Finance and Budget she's here. She should tell the country how many counties are complying with 30% rule. Even in Nakuru, we want to know how many youthful companies are giving business to young people. Mr. Speaker, and that is the future we want to see, Mr. Speaker. But we should feel encouraged. We are not encouraging young people to do corruption. We want them to do legit, not chemical business like some people would want to do. We want them to do legit, not chemical business, Mr. Speaker, and finish in the words of the great man called Bob Marley, who unfortunately died in cancer at 36 years. And I want to encourage young people, because young people, Mr. Speaker, every day would want to be rich overnight. They want to be instant millionaires. But when Bob Marley was being interviewed, he was asked by a reporter, how many wealth and possessions have you acquired through your concerts and selling of your songs? He asked him, what do you mean? Is it riches, possession, wealth? What do you mean? Then he says, in terms of wealth. Bob Marley answered this, and this should encourage us even in leadership. His riches and true riches and wealth is to have a life full of love and to live forever, Mr. Speaker. With those beautiful words of Bob Marley, may his soul live and Rastafarians don't die. They transit to another world. Encourage young people as I second this bill. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I beg to second.
Honorable Senators, I propose the question that the National Construction Authority Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bills number 59 of 2022, be now read a second time.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii kuchangia mswada wa marekebisho ya sheria ya National Construction Authority, yani shirika linalo simamia ujenzi katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Mheshimiwa Spika, mabadiliko haya ni mabadiliko ambayo yako wazi na yatasaidia pakubwa kuchangia kina mama, vijana na pia watu walemavu kuweza kupata fursa ya kufanya biashara kama wanakandarasi katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Mheshimiwa Spika, wanawake na vijana ndio asilimia kubwa ya idadi ya watu walioko katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Na Mheshimiwa Spika, wengi wametengwa katika biashara na katika makazi kwa sababu uchumi wetu haujakuwa wa nguvu vile ili kuweza kumchukua kila mmoja. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, hii itatoa fursa ya kuwawezesha wao kufanya biashara ili waweze kujikimu na pia waajiri watu wengine ambao wataweza kufanya kazi katika biashara zile ama kampuni zile ambazo zitakuwa zinafanya kazi ya ujenzi. Mheshimiwa Spika, tumeona kwamba kweli sheria iko, lakini tukiangalia katika utekelezaji wa sheria ile, Mheshimiwa Spika, utaona kwamba mambo mengi yanakwenda kinyume nyume. Kwa mfano, japokuwa vijana wana asilimia katika kandarasi zinazotolewa na kaunti zetu, Mheshimiwa Spika, utapata kwamba wanakandarasi wengi ni watu wazima na wanatumia majina ya vijana kama wakurugenzi katika kampuni zile ili kupatia biashara. Lakini kwa ukweli kampuni sio zao, na pesa zinapokuja vijana wanaenda kupewa pesa kidogo sana kulingana na zile pesa ambazo zimepatikana. Vile vile Mheshimiwa Spika, wanawake wengi wameshindwa kuingia katika biashara kwa sababu ya ukosefu wa rasilimali capital, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na japokuwa kuna taratibu ambazo zimeletwa ama miswada ambayo imeletwa ili kuweza kusaidia, kwa mfano ile inayoitwa Hustler Fund, Mheshimiwa Spika, pesa hizi za hustler zimekuwa donda sugu na wengi wameshindwa kulipa kwa sababu uchumi ni mbaya na hawawezi kufanya biashara kwa sababu kaunti zetu hazilipi pesa kwa wakati. Serikali pia Mheshimiwa Spika hailipi pesa kwa wakati. Kwa hivyo hata wakifanya biashara zile, Mheshimiwa Spika, hawapati malipo ama hawapati faida kama ilivyokuwa inatarajiwa katika kufanya biashara hiyo. Mheshimiwa Spika, vile vile pia wengi ambao wanaanzisha biashara wanapata changamoto nyingi, Mheshimiwa Spika, hususan changamoto za rasilimali, yani mtaji wa biashara ile. Utapata Mheshimiwa Spika, hata kama amepewa kandarasi lakini kandarasi nataka atoe alipie mali ghafi ama vitu ambavyo atatumia katika ujenzi ama kupeleka katika ile biashara, na hivyo basi wanakosa kufanya biashara hizo kwa sababu ya hizi pesa ama mtaji ama rasilimali ambao inahitajika kuanzisha biashara hizo. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, hii sheria itasaidia pakubwa, na vile vile pia imesema kwamba wale ambao fee ya kulipa haizidi 15,000 waruhusiwe kufanya maombi hayo bila ya kulipa hii fee ya 15,000 ambayo inatakikana. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, mswada huu utasaidia pakubwa kuimarisha hali ya kina mama, vijana na walemavu katika nchi yetu. Itasaidia pakubwa pia kuinua biashara na kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba watu wengi wanafanya biashara ambazo zitasaidia kuendesha maisha yao, kuliko sasa kusubiri kazi za uajiri peke yake ambazo Mheshimiwa Spika zimekuwa adimu sana, kulingana kwamba uchumi wetu haukui kama vile ambavyo unapaswa kukua. Mheshimiwa Spika, vile vile kodi mpya zinazokuja usoni pia zitazidi kulemaza biashara katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii.
Next is Senator Mutinda Tabitha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I rise to support this particular amendment for National Construction Authority, Mr. Speaker. And one of the main reasons that I arise to it is what catches my eye on the particular amendment 2A, which is very specific to the special group, that is the women, youth, and persons with disability, Mr. Speaker. As a champion for youth and women, this is one of the amendments that at any time, Mr. Speaker, I will always support. Looking at the two amendments that have been put in place, let me start with the Part B, which says the fee note that should not exceed 15,000, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as Africans we say, if you want to help someone, then just help them. Don't give them the options of, I'm going to help you, but this is the condition, or this is the ultimatum, and all things like that. Because if we want the women and the youth to be able to get the certifications for NCA, then even these particular amounts of 15,000 should be brought down to zero amounts, Mr. Speaker. Or if really need be, because of course there's paperwork, there's an administration cost in place, it should not exceed an amount of about 3,000. You know, this is going to ensure that it encourages this particular special group of people, so that we encourage them to be able to do these businesses. Mr. Speaker, we have organizations and entities like KERA, we have Kenya Urban Roads, we have Kenya National Highway Authority, among others who are also in the real estate construction. And as you can see right now, with the manifesto for Kenya Kwanza on the affordable housing, this is an area that young people are able to get opportunities and become full contractors without actually depending on foreigners to come and get this particular share. Where it has been that a foreigner comes and gets a local to be one of the directors, so that then the company has a share for a Kenyan. When this amendment is done, it gives an opportunity to our youths, to our fellow women, and of course persons with disability, to be able to be confident enough to get into these businesses. This business of construction, Mr. Speaker, you'll agree with me that it has been seen that it's for a specific group of people. And this specific group of people are people who are moneyed, Mr. Speaker, who have financial muscles, Mr. Speaker, because the contract sums are huge. But it doesn't mean that even someone who's starting a business, because everybody has a start point, even the ones whose business sum value at the end of every financial year amounts to billions or millions, they started from somewhere. There's always a start. And that is why digit 0 is a very important digit, because it is the start. So there has to be a start. So the amendment that talks about people also on startup businesses, it's very important. I want to agree with Senator from Mombasa when he says we've had business people who've used other young people's IDs, people's disability, to put them as directors of this company in the name of winning these particular tenders. That has been happening. But now with this particular amendment, then it will be able to give them confident opportunity that they can also register with a very minimal or zero cost of registration of the NCA certificates, knowing very well NCA certificates range from NCA 1, NCA 2, 3, 4, depending on the category that one is able to do. So depending on whichever category that one is able to afford, then of course different terms are in place. But it should be as low as even 2,500 or even 3,000. Mr. Speaker, let me finish by saying the issue of Nairobi. We've seen rogue business people, putting up buildings that some of them do not have the correct NCA documents. The authority for NCA should be more keen on ensuring that the construction that is going on, the buildings that are also coming up, especially in the city, because we've seen even during these recent floods, buildings coming down, and at times it's because someone put in fake certificates. These fake certificates, then someone is awarded a contract, they do not have the expertise, they do not have the technique that is needed to ensure that they adhere as per the NCA standards, because NCA is not only a certificate for a business person, but also it requires you to have a personnel in your organization who has the engineering skills to be able to oversee or supervise the work or the contract that one acquires. But it's a very good opportunity. As a government, we've championed opportunities for women, for youth, disability, and this is one of them when we agreed to do this particular amendment. I had one colleague talk about the data for the jobs, the 30% that has been given to women, people with disability, and youth from the different counties, which falls in my Committee of Finance and Budget. And I want to say that report is available because one member in this House was able to request that report. And we as a committee were able to get that feedback, and that feedback is already with the member. And this is information that is available not only within our committee, but within also the relevant offices of Treasury that are able to flag out and be able to indicate how many. And to our surprise, Mr. Speaker, the number is quite very high for the youth, for the women, and people with disability. It's very high. But the only issue is that then who are these individuals? Are they aware that they are also directors, or it's just their names that is being used? All said, Mr. Speaker, I do support. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have the mover to reply. There's no other senator interested to contribute to this.
To talk. Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I can also add on one point of saying, I think this is one of the best bills that we've had in this House and during our time, and we should all celebrate, because I know construction has been known as a male-dominated industry. And now it will enable women and youth and persons living with disability to be involved in that business. It's a big business, and I think everybody should be seen reaping out of that business. And I think the banks also should have trust in women and youth and persons living with disability. They should not be referred as the risk persons when it comes to lending, because I think everybody starts small and to grow to become big. So we'll be seeing these women and these the youth and the people living with disability, given the right opportunity, and especially with this bill being enacted, we will see them growing and becoming the biggest constructors that we can have in this country. And as Senator Mutinda says, we will not even be looking now for the foreign contractors to come in our country, because when women touches anything, we know that they flourish, and we see them eyeing the global market. So we'll be seeing them building here, Africa, and the world. And I know women are the conglomerates of this world, and I think it's our time for women now, coming now from Kenya to Africa and to the world. And I'm ready to, Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to reply, and I wish that, to thank the honorable senators who have risen to contribute and support the bill. I urge the Standing Committee on Roads and Transportation, to which the bill was committed, to finalize with and table it, report on the bill, so that the report may enrich the bill and the eventual law that will be enacted. Once enacted, this law will, as I stated, ensure that women, the youth, and persons living with disability are enabled to set up startup business and can apply to be registered as contractors under the Act, while being exempted from paying registration fee. This will ensure that they continue to take on loads as the construction industry. I thank you. Honorable Speaker, I further request that pursuant to Standing Order 66.3, the putting of the question on this bill be referred to a later date. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you. Is very correct. We defer division to a later date. Let's go to the next order. And now we defer number 14, then we go to order number 15.
Order number 15, the Nuts and Oil Crops Development Bill, Senate Bills number 47 of 2023, second reading.
Senator Minda Kibwana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the Nuts and Oil Crops Development Bill, Senate Bill number 47 of 2024, to read a second reading.
2023.
2023. To read a second reading. So I guess it's even long overdue, Mr. Speaker. But however, Mr. Speaker, looking at the nuts and oil industry, it's quite significant in this sector. The industry needs a strong, robust policy, Mr. Speaker. And I think it's a high time that we really speak about also coconut, cashew nuts, and other nuts and oil. Mr. Speaker, we've been having bills for the oil, for the tea and coffee, and yet at times we don't discuss about the coconut crop, Mr. Speaker. This bill, it's based to, it intends to promote a global competitive nuts, Mr. Speaker. When you talk about coconut, Mr. Speaker, I look at Azam. When I go to our stores and shelves at the supermarket, you hardly find coconuts made in Kenya. But then we buy the Azam and the others. And you can't imagine that the Azam coconuts are all Kenyan products. They go to Mombasa, get the coconuts, and manufacture. They even take to Malaysia and then take back to Tanzania. So at times it feels so sad that us as Kenyans, we are unable to support our own cash crop. Mr. Speaker, the benefits of coconut, I look at it. We from maybe the coast region, most of the time we use the milk for food. Coconut is also used as medicine, Mr. Speaker. The husks also make, they do make the ropes, and also sticks, they do brooms, Mr. Speaker. The wood also does fires, and also I have some stools made out of coconut wood. And the shells, the steam food, the shells actually we use to steam food or make porridge with them. And also the water, the coconut water is quite refreshing, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to reducing weight and all that. So the bill establishes the Nuts and Oil Crops Development Body Corporate with perpetual succession and a common seal whose functions, Mr. Speaker, regulate and promote the development of the nuts and oil crop industry. The recommendation also on it may make recommendations to the Cabinet Secretary and oversee the implementation of strategies, plans, and policy on this crop. The bill, Mr. Speaker, promotes the diversification of nuts and oil crop and also produces, and also products and byproducts. It will also promote the marketing of nuts and oil in this country. And we will be taking pride, Mr. Speaker, just the way we take pride on coffee and tea. There's one time I was in Dubai, Mr. Speaker, and I was eating some cashew nuts. And I thought they were the best cashew nuts that I'd eaten. So I wanted to know the manufacturers and where it came from. The shock was, it was Kenyan-based. It was made in Kenya. And they were the best cashew nuts that I'd eaten so far. But what about our local farmers, Mr. Speaker? Where do they go? They work. They do all the best things that they can do. The nuts are exported, but they hardly enjoy the labor. I remember the late Magufuli, Mr. Speaker, promoting the cashew nuts. And now in Tanzania, you'll find cashew nuts are all over, but then they have been regulated and the farmers are enjoying. So this nuts and oil bill is going to promote the marketing of nuts and oil crops in Kenya, and also establish linkages and local international researchers institutions to conduct scientific research and investigations on this. It's also going to collect and correlate and disseminate information on the nut and oil crop industry. It's also going to regulate the marketing and exportation of nuts and oil crop products and byproducts to conform the quality of food standards recognized in the international market, Mr. Speaker. It's also going to coordinate capacity building training for young people. This bill, Mr. Speaker, once it's regulated, then our youth are going to at least be empowered. They're going to get jobs. With definitely having farmers establishing having the SACCOs and everything, establishing the SACCOs for growing cashew nuts and nuts. Our youth, maybe from the coast, there has been a debate on Mogokai and all the other things. So it's unfortunate. I mean, this debate will go on as long as our young boys and girls don't have jobs. So this bill, once it's regulated, We are going, of course, it's going to create jobs for the youth. The bill is critical, Mr. Speaker, for economic empowerment also, particularly in rural areas where nuts and oil farming is predominantly practiced. Mr. Speaker, locally produced nuts and oil reduces also the carbon footprint associated with food miles. You know, it's unlike nuts and oil, which incur significant carbon emissions from transportation. So this locally produced is quite different. The small-scale farmers, Mr. Speaker, are also going to benefit. They're going to play a crucial key role in Kenya, in Kenya's agricultural sector on nuts and oil, and we shall recognize their importance, Mr. Speaker. The bill also, Mr. Speaker, aligns the constitutional provision on devolution as agriculture is devolved in function under Part 2 of 4th Schedule to the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. This devolution emphasizes the equitable distribution of resources. So at least when I talk about coconut, the coastarians are going to benefit out of it, and cashew nuts also. And nuts, of course, I would say in other areas, not just in coast. The devolution, Mr. Speaker, the devolution further requires building the capacity of the county governments and institutions to effectively deliver services and promote development of this. So the nuts and oil includes provision for that capacity building, Mr. Speaker. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, because I'm sure many people have read, and like I said, the bill was long overdue. It's been taken, you see, it's for 2023. We are in 2024, mid-2024, and so the bill is crucial and quite critical to step forward, realizing the vision of vibrant and self-sustaining nuts and sector in Kenya, Mr. Speaker. By addressing food security concerns, this bill is going to boost agricultural productivity. It's going to promote economic empowerment and support environmental sustainability. Mr. Speaker, the bill lays the foundation for a thriving nuts and oil industry that benefits both farmers and consumers alike. I therefore, imperative for the Senate, it is therefore imperative for the Senate, Mr. Speaker, to endorse and prioritize the legislative initiative to unlock the full potential of Kenya's nuts and oil sector and contribute to the nation's overall development agenda. Mr. Speaker, since I have so much to say about the oil and the coconut itself, whereas we even use it as women as hair oil and others, I want to propose Senator Mutinda to second this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move.
Senator Mutinda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would have wished to second in Swahili, since it's a coastal product, but I think it will, since the mover has started in English, I'll proceed with the same language. And I rise, Mr. Speaker, to say that I do support this particular bill, Mr. Speaker, the Nuts and Oil Crop Development Bill. It's a bill that actually should have come earlier, but we say God's timing is the best. And the reason I say it should have even come earlier, Mr. Speaker, is because anything that is agricultural, not only in this country, but in the world, has high economic values. So I want to thank my colleague, my sister, Senator Hamida, for this great bill, Mr. Speaker. Not only that she comes from these particular regions, but I know she has very high passion when it comes to value addition as far as different products are concerned, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I've looked at the bill, and I do note that the bill has also been able to talk about the Nuts and Oil Development Board. It's a very key board, Mr. Speaker. These boards normally do assist in the structure and in the policies that are not in place so that the industry or the entity can be able to sustain itself, not short term, but long term. So the element of the Nuts and Development Board is very critical. But I would urge Senator Hamida, during the amendments period, I would request that Senator Mondigi not to distract Senator Hamida, because he was not there, and I'm trying to reply such that these amendments are well captured. And I'm on the part for the board, Mr. Speaker. The board is very critical, but I would urge the senator to, during amendments, to specify the members of this board. It is very important, it's very critical. We've had situations that people want to just be board members, but lack the expertise, lack the knowledge, or sometimes the experience in this particular sector. So I would advise that in the amendments, you include the membership of this board, looking at also gender balance on this particular board. People from the coastal region whereby Nuts do very well, then should form also part of this particular board. Member from also COG, so as to also include one member from the county that is favorable as far as Nuts are concerned, among other stakeholders that would ensure they have and achieve the goal for forming the board, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have my bill, which I'm happy. It's at the National Assembly, the Agricultural Extension Officers Bill, a very important, critical bill. And I want to commend the senator because I've noticed that the factor for the extension officers have also been factored in this particular bill. They play a very key and critical role. And it is in this umbrella for the officers, then we ensure that our farmers, our nut growers, will be able to have the officers who are able to assist them on the ground to be able to produce the best quality of the nuts, Mr. Speaker. What I've noted again, which I would want Senator Mida to also note during amendments, is on the part for a research center. Mr. Speaker, a research center is a very important center because it is in this center that the farmers are able to be guided, one, on the correct type of seedlings. These are the best seedlings that they can be able to use, hence get the best output during the research process. The type of soil, the fertilizer that they need to use, what value additions need to be added so as to get the different products, and also the global marketing aspect. It's a very important aspect, Mr. Speaker. And so this will be brought about very well by having a research team, research center, that is going to guide the farmers very correctly to be able to achieve these specific outputs, Mr. Speaker. As a student of business in international business, as I've said earlier, global marketing is very important. These products do well, the nut does very well in the coastal region. Knowing very well the advantage of the coast region is on the issue of the port. So for export purposes, after value addition, then it gives more revenue to the farmers because it also eases up their export procedures and processes. Farmers can also be able to have direct market of their products in future as long as the output is to the standard that is an international standard. The issue of job creation, definitely, Mr. Speaker, this is very key. And it's a very important aspect. But in my research, I've also noted that we only have 2 companies, Mr. Speaker, in the coast region that are doing the business for oil, for this oil and nuts, Mr. Speaker. And these are the East African tall and the East African dwarf. Their produce is not enough because what is needed after research is close to 80 to 100 coconuts in a year. So these 2 companies cannot be able to produce enough. The more we encourage our farmers, the more we have a body that is able to assist them on all these factors that I've been able to mention, definitely then the yields will be able to increase. Through this increase of these yields, we increase job creation. Our women, our young people are able to get into job opportunities. We are in 2024, whereby access to countries like China is not really a challenge at this particular time. There has been bilateral talks that enhance businesses for our business people, and this is in regards to the modern machineries that are in place that can be able to be used to produce maximally as far as the product is concerned. So the output will be much more when, apart from it creating the jobs, but also the end product, which is very key for any business to sustain. And as a business person, as an entrepreneur, the end product is very key in terms of how you put it out in the market. Some of the products that my sister has mentioned in terms of the products from the coconut, it ranges from flour. I've come across a coconut flour, Mr. Speaker, sometimes some years back during an expo in this country still. There is flour, there are oil, and different types of oil, from cooking oil to body oil to hair oil. I remember actually when I was a young girl, coconut oil up to date has been believed to be the best oil for making our natural hair grow. So it's a product that has been there, but it has not really been given enough concentration so that it brings out the maximum output that comes with the nuts, the nuts. Mr. Speaker, the issue of the health factor. Each day we are wearing smart, each day we are walking, heads up high, Mr. Speaker, but so many modern diseases amongst us. You wake up the next day and you're told that so-and-so is no longer with us. The next question that follows is, what happened? And he or she did not look an inch like they have any sign of being unwell. But internal diseases over time have really manifested in our body. But Mr. Speaker, just to mention a few, I realize and note that coconut really has very key health benefits that range from strengthening of the immune system, which is very important, Mr. Speaker, because with these bodies that we have, good immune system then definitely gives you more years and years. Among other things, it fights diabetes, it controls diabetes, prevents premature aging, regulating the blood pressure. Blood pressure is something that is sort of becoming a norm. And you see, when you have blood pressure, you have to be on medication throughout. And it's like, it's normal, it's fine. These are things that can be prevented. And these are some of the products that can actually prevent some of these diseases across. So, Mr. Speaker, with those few, I beg to support. Thank you.
Honorable Senators, I propose the question. that the Nuts and Oils Crops Development Bill, Senate Bills number 47 of 2022, be now read a second time. Senators will allow debate on this. First senator will be Senator Mwini Haji Mohamed Faki.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii kuchangia mswada wa sheria ya mazao ya nuts and oil crops. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimea ya mafuta kama vile korosho, nazi, macadamia na mimea mingine kama hiyo ambayo hususan inapandwa kwa kuzalisha mafuta. Mheshimiwa Spika, mswada huu kwanza nimpongeze Seneta Hamida kwa kuweza kudhamini mswada huu, kwa sababu ni mswada ambao utasaidia pakubwa kuinua mazao haya ya nazi pamoja na korosho katika kaunti za Pwani, ambapo Mheshimiwa Spika, mazao haya yanakuzwa kwa wingi. Kwa mfano, Kwale, Mombasa, Kilifi, Tana River na hata Lamu, mazao ya nazi na korosho yanafanya vizuri sana. Lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa miaka sasa, kwa ukosefu wa sheria kama hii, imefanya kuwa mazao haya yameweza kutupiliwa mbali na wananchi wanapata shida. Mheshimiwa Spika, tukiangalia katika kifungu cha pili kinasema mazao haya ni pamoja na nazi, korosho, macadamia, njugu, sunflower, jojoba, simsim, bambara na mengineo mengi ambayo yatatangazwa kwa gazeti rasmi na waziri mhusika na ukulima. Mheshimiwa Spika, tukirudi nyuma ni kwamba zamani kulikuwa na sheria ambayo ilikuwa inatoa mazao yote kwa jumla, ile inaitwa AFA, Agricultural and Food Act. Lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, sheria hii ilipatikana kwamba inakusanya mazao yote, mazao ya biashara na mazao ya chakula pamoja. Hivyo basi utapata kwamba inakuwa ni vigumu kupata uangalizi wa kimaada kwa yale mazao ambayo yako mbalimbali. Ndio hivyo basi ndio ikaja sheria kutoka mwaka 2017-18 ikaja wazo kwamba kila zao ambalo lina ukulima liweze kupewa sheria yake mbali. Ndio ukaona Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna sheria ya chai, kuna sheria ya kahawa, kuna sheria ya ukuzaji miwa na sukari. Zote hizo zimewekwa mbalimbali kwa sababu ilikuwa haja ya kuhakikisha kwamba kila zao linatiliwa mkazo kivyake, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ile sheria ya AFA haikusaidia ukuzaji wa ukulima. Kwa mfano Mheshimiwa Spika, zao la pareto ama pyrethrum liliweza Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nachangia mswada wa Hamida na yeye ndio kwa mstari wa mbele kutatiza mchango wangu.
Endelea Senator, asante.
Mheshimiwa Spika, zao la pareto lilikuwa zamani linafanya vizuri sana, lakini kwa sababu zao hili la pareto liliunganishwa na mazao mengine katika ile sheria ya AFA, zao la pareto lilikuwa limeko karibu kufa, na nafikiri kule kaunti ya Nakuru ambako lilikuwa linakuzwa kwa wingi, nafikiri sasa hakuna tena ukuzaji wa pareto, yani pyrethrum. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, kwanza kabisa ni kwamba kuifanya haya mazao haya kuwa na sheria yake kando itasaidia pakubwa kuinua tena ukuzaji na uuzaji wa mazao haya. Mheshimiwa Spika, jambo la pili ni kwamba kumekuwa na ukosefu wa utafiti wa mazao kama haya. Mheshimiwa Spika, tukiangalia kama kule Pwani minazi bado ukipanda mnazi leo ungojee miaka 10 ndio uweze kupata zao la nazi. Mheshimiwa Spika, siku hizi kuna variety ama kuna mbegu zinazotoka kama kule Vietnam ambapo nazi inakuwa tayari kwa muda wa miaka 3. Hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika inazaa pia karibu nazi 400 kwa kila zao. Kwa mfano inazaa kwa kila miezi 3 nazi 400 Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hivyo utafiti ukiweza kufanyika utasaidia kuleta mazao pia anaongeza yale mazao ambayo yanazaliwa ili wakulima waweze kupata faida katika ukulima wao. Mheshimiwa Spika, pia vile zao la korosho ambalo linafanya vizuri sana katika Kilifi, Kwale, baadhi ya sehemu za Mombasa, Lamu, Mpeketoni. Mheshimiwa Spika, pia zao hili litafanya vizuri zaidi ikiwa kutakuwa na utafiti wa kupata mbegu ambazo zitaweza kuzaa kwa muda mfupi na vile pia kuenua mazao yao. Mheshimiwa Spika, nimeelezwa majuzi kwa kule Kalro, Mtwapa, kulikuwa na mbegu nyingi za zao la korosho na gavana wa Tharaka Nithi Mheshimiwa Njuki alikuja akanunua zote, na hivi sasa nasikia zao hili limeanza kufanya vizuri sana katika sehemu za Tharaka na vile pia sehemu za Makueni ambako linaweza kukuzwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, jambo la kusikitisha ni kwamba kaunti zetu za Pwani hazijawekeza katika zao hili. Kwa mfano Mheshimiwa Spika, hapo nyuma kulikuwa na mtambo wa korosho wa Kilifi ambao ulikuwa ni maarufu sana, ambao mtambo ule Mheshimiwa Spika ulisaidia wakulima wengi wa korosho Kilifi kuweza kupata pesa, kusomesha watoto wao na pia kujiendeleza kimaisha. Lakini mtambo Mheshimiwa Spika ulipouzwa na kufungwa, mpaka hivi sasa wakulima wametatizika. Serikali ya kaunti ya Kilifi Mheshimiwa Spika kwa muda wa miaka 10 hawakuweza kuwekeza pesa kununua mtambo ule ili iwe ni rasilimali ya kaunti ya Kilifi. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, kaunti zetu hazijawekeza katika mazao, katika ukulima. Mheshimiwa Spika, ukiangalia bajeti za Lamu, bajeti za Mombasa, bajeti za Kwale, bajeti ya Kilifi, bajeti ya Taveta kwa masuala ya ukulima Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kitu kidogo sana ambacho ni asilimia ndogo sana ambayo tunawekeza sisi katika ukulima, wakati mazao haya yana uwezo wa kuwanasua watu wetu kutokana na lindi la umaskini na ukosefu wa pesa. Mheshimiwa Spika, nimeona hapa katika kifungu cha 22 kinasema kwamba county government zitatunga sheria kuhusiana na masuala ya uandikishaji, masuala ya utumaji maombi na mambo mengine ambayo yamezungumziwa katika kifungu cha 22. Lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, tukiangalia ni kwamba tayari sheria inatoa mwongozo kuhusiana na vile ambavyo kaunti zetu zitaendesha mambo yao. Kwa kuchelea kwa na sheria ambazo zitaweza kugongana, yani sheria ya kaunti igongane na sheria ya kitaifa, nafikiri itakuwa wazo bora kama sehemu hii itarekebishwa ili iondolewe kikamilifu, na hii nafasi ya katika kifungu cha 38 ambacho kinampa waziri muhusika kwa masuala ya ukulima akishirikiana na bodi ambayo imeanzishwa hapa na sheria hii na pamoja na serikali za kaunti ziweze kutengeneza kanuni, yani regulations za kusimamia masuala kama hayo ambayo yanazungumziwa hapo. Kwa mfano masuala ya uandikishaji, masuala ya application itatumwa vipi na mengineyo ambayo yamezungumziwa katika kifungu cha 22. Mheshimiwa Spika, jambo lingine la kunifurahisha pia ni kwamba bodi itakuwa ina makao yake makuu katika sehemu ya Kilifi. Mheshimiwa Spika, hii iko katika kifungu cha 4 inasema kwamba makao makuu ya bodi itakuwa ni katika kaunti ya Kilifi. Mheshimiwa Spika, lazima tutoke katika yale kasumba ya kuweka kila kitu Nairobi. Wakati fulani hapa tulikuwa tunazungumzia masuala ya uvuvi, ikasemekana kwamba makao makuu ya shirika la uvuvi itakuwa South Sea katika jiji la Nairobi. Wakati Mheshimiwa Spika, uvuvi wafanyika Mombasa, uvuvi mwingi wafanyika Lake Victoria kule Kisumu na Nyanza. Kwa hivyo ilikuwa hakuna sababu ya kwa nini makao makuu ya uvuvi yafanyika katika Nairobi. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, hili wazo kwamba makao makuu yako Kilifi, hii itasaidia pakubwa kwa sababu bodi litakuwa iko pale pale, inaangalia maslahi ya wakulima pale, inaangalia maslahi ya wanunuzi na wale wanaotakuwa wakifanya biashara ya nazi katika maeneo hayo. Mheshimiwa Spika, masuala mengine ni kwamba nazi inaweza kusaidia pakubwa kumaliza umaskini katika pwani Mheshimiwa Spika. Lakini tumeona kwa muda sasa minazi ambayo inazaa sasa ni ile minazi ambayo babu zetu walipanda. Minazi ambayo babu zetu walipanda. Hatujafanya jambo lolote ambalo litaweza kusaidia kuhifadhi zao la mnazi na zao la korosho katika hii miaka ambayo tumeishi sisi takriban miaka 30 Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hivyo ni muhimu Mheshimiwa Spika kwamba kaunti zetu ziweze kushajaishwa wapawe vitega hamu vya kuhakikisha kwamba haya mazao ambayo ni ya kimila hasa ni mazao ya kipwani Mheshimiwa Spika yanaweza kukuzwa kwa wingi na kusaidia kuhakikisha kwamba yanaleta faida kwa watu wetu. Tukiangalia Mheshimiwa Spika, zao la korosho hakuna kinachopotea Mheshimiwa Spika. Korosho ikiwa iko juu, yale makanju ni unaweza kutengeneza juice nzuri sana. Mheshimiwa Spika, tukiangalia zao la nazi, likiwa ni dafu unaweza kunywa madafu Mheshimiwa Spika. Inasaidia kusafisha system yako, yani system yako ya urine, kuhakikisha kwamba unaishi katika maisha ambayo ni ya afya. Mheshimiwa Spika, nyama ile ambayo iko katika dafu inasaidia pia kuinua platelets za mtu ambaye ni mgonjwa Mheshimiwa Spika. Huu ni utafiti ambao ulifanywa kitambo katika majeshi ya kule masehemu za Indonesia na kwingineko. Mheshimiwa Spika, tukiangalia nazi yenyewe inaweza kupikwa, inaweza kukaushwa, ikafanywa mafuta, na hata kama siwezi kwenda katika kiwanda kikubwa Mheshimiwa Spika, viwanda vidogo vidogo vya kukamua mafuta Mheshimiwa Spika vinaweza kuchangia pakubwa kuinua hali ya nazi na kuinua hali ya maisha ya wananchi wa pwani. Mheshimiwa Spika, kama alivyosema Senator Media ni kwamba katika nazi hupotezi kitu chochote. Huwezi poteza chochote kwa sababu makuti unaweza kutumia na kuweza kuezekea na kufinika paa la nyumba yako. Na Mheshimiwa Spika, paa la makuti hata kama kuna joto Mheshimiwa Spika, huwezi kulisikia lile joto. Mheshimiwa Spika, ukiangalia vitu vingine unaweza kupata kamba kutokana na makumbi ya nazi, unaweza kutengeneza godoro na mambo mengi mengine ambayo Mheshimiwa Spika yanatokana na zao la nazi ambalo limezungumziwa katika sheria hii. Mheshimiwa Spika, sheria hii Mheshimiwa Spika kwa hivyo itasaidia pakubwa, na naona pia majukumu ya kaunti zetu yamezungumziwa kwa undani kabisa katika kifungu cha 21 ya sheria hii Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, pia sheria hii itawaleta pamoja wakulima wa mazao haya. Kwa mfano mazao ya korosho watawekwa katika vikundi vya cooperative, mazao wenye kuuza kwa mfano nazi na wakulima wa minazi wote wataweza kuwekwa pamoja katika masuala ya cooperatives ili waweze kuanza kupata mikopo, waweze kupata njia rahisi ya kufundishwa mbinu mpya za ukulima ili waweze kujikimu kimaisha. Mheshimiwa Spika, ukisafiri kutoka Kilifi kwenda Malindi utapata barabarani watoto wengi wanauza korosho ambazo zimetayarishwa kienyeji. Mheshimiwa Spika, hiyo ina maana kwamba iwapo wazo hili litapata soko, watu wengi wataweza kupata njia za kukimu maisha yao ili waweze kusomesha watoto wao na vile vile pia kupata ruzuku ya kuwezesha kimaisha. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi naunga mkono sheria hii isipokuwa kifungu cha 22 kinapasa kiweze kuangaliwa tena kwa sababu kifungu cha 22 kina nafasi ya kutatiza majukumu ya kaunti zetu ambazo zimezungumziwa katika kifungu cha 21 na vile vile pia katika kifungu cha 38 cha sheria hii. Mheshimiwa Spika, haya mazao mengine yote, castor beans, cashew nut, oil seed, tuangalie Mheshimiwa Spika, mafuta mengi ambayo yanatumika hapa Kenya yanaagizwa kutoka sehemu za nje. Malaysia, Indonesia ndio wanaleta mafuta mengi hapa, alafu baadaye yanakuwa processed na kuuzwa katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna nafasi Mheshimiwa Spika ya kumeza sunflower, hii inaitwa pia jojoba Mheshimiwa Spika, palm oil ambayo inamea katika maeneo ya pwani na kwengineko. Zote hizi Mheshimiwa Spika ni mimea ambayo yanaweza kumea hapa pwani ili wananchi wetu wapate ajira na vile vile pia tuweze kupata viwanda vidogo vidogo. Mheshimiwa Spika, katika ruwaza ya serikali ya Kenya Kwanza wamesema kwamba watafanya zile zinaitwa aggregated industrial parks Mheshimiwa Spika. Viwanda kama hivi vidogo vidogo Mheshimiwa ndio vinaweza kuhudumu kusafisha bidhaa kama hizi na kuweza kuziuza kwa sehemu za nje Mheshimiwa Spika, ili nchi yetu iweze kupata fedha za kigeni. Kwa kumalizia Mheshimiwa Spika, nakubaliana pia na Seneta Hamida kwamba hili haya mazao yaliyozungumziwa hapa Mheshimiwa Spika ni mazao ambayo yanafanya vizuri pia katika sehemu ambazo ni kame, kama zile sehemu za Embu ambazo zina ukavu kidogo, zinaweza kupanda simsim, sehemu za Tharaka, sehemu za Makueni, sehemu za Kitui. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni sehemu ambazo ni mimea ambayo inaweza kufanya vizuri katika sehemu ambazo hazina maji mengi. Kwa hivyo ni zao ambalo linaweza kusaidia pakubwa kuenua nchi yetu kiukulima na vile vile pia kupata nafasi ya kuweza kutengeneza vile viwanda vidogo vidogo ambavyo ndio tunaita ngazi ya kuweza kwenda katika viwanda vikubwa ambavyo tutahitaji katika nchi yetu ili tuwe tumeweza kuendelea. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii.
Asante sana Senator Alexander Mundingi.
Asante Bwana Spika kwa kunipa ruhusa niweze kuchangia katiba ambayo inatengenezwa na ambaye imeletwa katika Senate na Senator Aminda. Nasema mimi ni mwenyekiti mdogo wa kamati wa agriculture ambaye tuko na furaha kwa sababu nakumbuka vizuri wiki jana tulikuwa tumetembea kule Mombasa, na pia wiki ambaye sinakuja tunaweza kuwa tutatembea Kirinyaga na tutaenda ambaye kaunti zile zingine kama huko Rift Valley na pia Meru na kaunti yangu ya Embu. Ni mjadala ambaye inaweza kusaidia mambo ya kilimo kwa sababu katika ile manifesto ya serikali ya Kenya Kwanza mambo ya kilimo imewekwa na njia ya juu sana, na ndio imekuwa mara mingi pesa ya kilimo imekuwa ikiongezeka, na tuko na hakika hata mwaka huu ambaye ile mambo itazungumziwa kilimo itakuwa inaangaliwa vizuri ndio iweze kupatiwa pesa nyingi, kwa sababu tunajua kilimo ni pesa mfukoni na inasaidia, kwa sababu tunajua kilimo inafanywa na mfanyikazi ambaye ameajiriwa na pia vijana na watu wazima, na ndio naunga mkono kwa sababu tunataka pia serikali kila majimbo 47 iweze kuongezea pesa ndio kuwe na wale walimu wa kufunza watu mambo ya kilimo ambaye ni ya kisasa, juu ya ile tunajua kilimo ya zamani ilikuwa inakuwa ukipanda mti ama ukilima vitu nyingi inakaa miaka mingi. Kwa hivyo kama kugusia upande wa kilimo ya makandamia, upande wa Embu County tuko na sub-county 4 na mambo ya kilimo ya makandamia. Watu wengi pale Manyata sub-county na Runyenje sub-county upande wa Embu ya juu, watu wengi wamelima hiyo miti wamepanda, na tunafuraha sana kwa sababu tunaunga mkono ndio ile mjadala itakuja itapitisha, ama mbinu ile itakuja itapitisha, ukute mkulima atakuwa na furaha miaka yote. Kwa sababu nikikukumbuka wakati tulichauana tulikuja tukakuta kama makandamia pale Embu ilitoka shilingi 30, lakini wakati tulipiga kelele, mimi nilikuwa mmoja, saa hii makandamia kilo moja inatoka shilingi 130. kama inawezekana kama Senate na tuunge mjadala kama hii mkono, inaweza kurekebishwa na njia ile inafaa, na serikali ambaye ya Kenya Kwanza kila majimbo iweze kuipa pesa ile inafaa juu ya mbegu, na wale watu wanaweza kuvunza watu ile mbegu asiwe na kaa miaka mingi. Tutakuwa na njia ile mwafaka ile itaweza kusaidia wale watu wako masinani. Upande mwingine, Spika, naunga mkono ni kuwa pia kaunti nyingi zimekubali kulima, na ni kuuliza serikali ile, ndio unaona kama tunaongea na mambo ya budget, MP waweze kuongezea zile pesa ndio kilimo iweze kuwekewa maanane. Na kitu kingine ningeomba serikali itusaidie tukifanya hiyo kazi yote ya mambo ya makandamia, mambo ya nazi na zile vitu zingine na njugu ambaye Senator Aminda ametanja pale. Bwana Spika, itakuwa ni vizuri pia serikali ya Kenya Kwanza huko nje kama Amerika, kama Dubai ama nchi zile zingine wawe wakituangalia soko, ndio mkulima aweze kupata njia ile ya kujifurahisha, ndio aweze kupata pesa ya kupeleka watoto wetu shule na pia ya hospitalini. Pia kitu kingine ningeunga mkono ni vile kutakuwa na society ambaye cooperative ili itasaidia mkulima, na kwa sababu kilimo iko katika county, governor na wale wenye wakulima wao wakikaa pamoja, hiyo mbilo iweze kurekebishwa ndio kilimo iweze kuonekana masinani. Kitu kingine serikali ingeweza kusaidia, unakuta kaunti zingine ni kama haikuangi ni ile semi-arid area kama Embu County, tuko na Mbeere North na Mbeere South, waweze kupelekewa wale watu wanajua mambo ya mchanga, ipimwe vizuri ndio hata zile county hata nazo siweze kupanda vitu kama hizo. Lakini kama hakuna watu kama agricultural officers ama agricultural extension officers kama hawako, hakutawezekana. Kwa hivyo mimi naunga mkono na serikali injaribu sana kupeleka pesa wa county ndio iweze kusaidia mambo ya kilimo. Kitu kingine ningeomba ni waziri wa agriculture, pia kuna vitu inaitwa water pan, na pia kwa ile mito kidogo na damu kubwa isiweze kupatikana. Kama unakuta kama Embu sehemu kubwa haina maji upande wa Mbeere South na upande wa Mbeere North, tuweze kupata kama dam ambayo ile tumeahidiwa na serikali iweze kuweka maji, ndio kaunti kama hizo iweze kupata kilimo ambaye ni bora. Kwa sababu sio mambo ya makadamia peke yake, kuna mambo ya avocado, kuna mambo ya hata vitu kama cash crop kama miraa na vitu zile zingine, ndio kilimo tuweze kuwekea maanane. Na inahakikishia serikali kama itafanya hiyo kazi yote, hata usuru ile ambaye tunategemea wakati hii wa kipindi ya serikali ya Kenya Kwanza inaweza kuwa itakuwa juu, na utakuta mara mingi serikali haitaweza kupata time ya kwenda kuomba pesa huko nje, ndio tuweze kujitegemea. Pia hata county government itakuwa na bahati kama vitu kama hizo itafanyika, kwa sababu tunaona kuna mzigo mkubwa sana, ile pesa county government inapatiwa haitoshi. Lakini wakati kama serikali itaandika hao watu, utakuta kwa miaka kidogo mambo ya usuru itaongezeka. Kwa hiyo Bwana Spika, naunga mkono nikiwa senator wa Embu County kilimo ambaye ni pila moja ya manifesto ya serikali ya Kenya Kwanza. Kwa hiyo naunga mkono mimi Senator Alexander Mwinyi Mondigi ambaye ni daktari na deputy party leader wa Kenya katika Kenya Kwanza. Asante.
Asante Senator Tabitha Karanja.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. And I want to take this opportunity to congratulate Hamida of her coming with this nice bill, the Nuts Oil Crops Development Bill 2023. And I want to congratulate you for that. I come from Nakuru County, where I think we grow everything apart from coconut. The Nakuru County, we grow everything. The soil is very fertile. And I think we contribute 40% of, in agriculture in the national GDP. Meaning, it's a very important county. And having this bill, I think what Hamida is looking for will benefit our Nakuru County highly. And I wanted to correct Senator Faki, because he thought the pyrethrum. I think we've revived the pyrethrum crop in Nakuru County, and we are so lucky to have an American company that has come up in Naivasha. They are putting up a plant, a processing plant that will do 7,000 tons per year, and will create direct employment of 600. So meaning we need to grow more pyrethrum to support that industry. And we want to thank that the company from America. Of course, through the county government, we saw the launch being done. And that is one of, maybe I can say, is an achievement for Nakuru County. I think the Kenya Kwanza, the 5 pillars, one was the agriculture. And we've seen what the Kenya government has done, especially with the subsidy fertilizer. And we've seen even the output this year is surpassed maybe what we had 2 or 3 years back. So meaning the agriculture, that agenda, we really achieved and we continue achieving. So I think what Senator Hamida, you're looking for also is the value addition on the whatever we grow in this country, because even as we continue growing the agriculture, the most important thing is to ensure we add value to the agriculture. Even look at the tea alone, when it is added value, it's become more expensive than that just the normal tea. So the minute we can continue adding value to our nuts, to our, like the pyrethrum, the tomatoes, talk of of course, everything, the carrots, the cabbage, whatever we can grow and add value, we will continue putting money to the people's pocket. Because in Kenya, we are so lucky to have our fertile land where we pride on our agriculture output. So meaning we add value, build industries that will add value, create employment, and when you add value, the products are more more expensive. It will put money in our farmers' pocket. Go to Kinangop, you find the potatoes that are just, they don't have storage. So meaning we just need to add value. And if you go to other parts of the world, like in China, in German, in where, you find their potatoes added value. And when they come back here, brought in here like a drink, it's very inexpensive drink. So all what we need is to ensure we add value to agriculture, like Senator Amida is pushing, and to ensure that they will create more markets for these agriculture products of ours, so that even when we see our readers going to visit abroad, they have one agenda of looking for markets for our products, for our produce, and especially the agriculture. So I support Senator Amida and congratulate you. And I think Nakuru County will be one of the county that will benefit from this bill. And we will urge the people of Nakuru to continue doing what they do best, being active in their farms and growing the food that we give the Kenyans, and make the Kenya country proud, and make our county one of the best as it is today. I think Nakuru County is second from Nairobi, and it is the only county that can overtake Nairobi. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Professor Margaret Kamar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to support this bill, the Nuts and Oils Crops Development Bill. As I support the bill, Mr. Speaker, I would like to congratulate Senator Hamida for coming up with a very good bill that looks at how we can produce quality nuts and oils. Mr. Speaker, the bill that is providing for production and processing and the marketing and distribution of oil nuts is very, very important, because in this country, we are very fortunate to have different climatic zones across the country. Right from the coast to the northern parts of this country, which are dry, we can actually produce almost every nut that can be produced in the world. I remember a long time ago, Mr. Speaker, there was a program where Turkana was supposed to be producing, there was something called the Sahel program, which was promoted by Israel and one of the Norwegians in Turkana. And it was supposed to produce palm oil, and they called it the palm of the Sahel. And during the research at that time, when, because I worked for the Ministry of Agriculture a little bit, the soil testing that was done for northern Kenya, in particular Turkana, showed that they can actually, it was the dates for the Sahel. And they say that you can have palm oil and you can have dates growing in northern Kenya, something that has not been exploited. This bill is moving us to another level where we should boldly look at the production of some of these crops that have not been looked at. Mr. Speaker, we have limited ourselves as a country to the known products, cash crops that are known today. And yet we know that there are so many other things that can be produced. Currently, Mr. Speaker, under the COMESA agreements, we allow for the importation of anything duty-free that comes from COMESA countries. And what this has done is that we receive a lot of oil crops, we receive a lot of products from Egypt, which we should be producing ourselves. We should not look helpless when it comes to production of things that can be done in this country. So I support this bill because I know there are areas that have not been explored by the Ministry of Agriculture. And if we explore those areas, we can actually raise oil crops, we can raise nuts that can be exported from this country, so that we are not always a net importer. Because when it comes to oils, we are a net importer. And yet we can produce for ourselves. I'm happy that this is going to cover everything nut. Mr. Speaker, we are a very lucky country. If you look at the coastal region, cashew nuts produced in Kenya are some of the best in the world. In fact, what is being sold in the streets of Malindi are nuts that you cannot even get outside this country, because the nuts that you get out there are broken and they are not as good as what you find in the streets of Malindi. So, Mr. Speaker, this bill should move us to the level when we add value and actually sell for the same farmers. Because what is being sold in the streets in Malindi can actually be sold 100 times anywhere if they are packaged properly. Our other problem has been being slow in value addition, and I think some senators have mentioned that even as we expand our agricultural products, the real challenge is how to add value so that we don't sell things that are raw. And if we add value, again, we go 100% value for the farmers, and the farmers will get much, much better than what we are getting right now. So increasing production is one of the things that this bill is looking at, which I really think is very important. Processing is the other one. If we can value add any product that we have, we can then be able to export. Because whether it is COMESA or the market that we have in the East African community, we need to value add to ensure that we actually export something that is quality. A lot of our neighboring countries have relied a lot in Kenya for a very long time. And yet when you look at what they have been relying on, they have been relying on a few products that come out of Bidco. So we need to spread out and make sure that the farmers actually get value for this. The other thing that I really support in this bill is sustained research and extension services. Mr. Speaker, without research, we will not improve the yield. Without research, we will not determine where to grow what. It is very important that our research sector remains vibrant as far as the production and the production of agricultural products, including the oil crops that we are dealing with in this bill, is concerned. We need to support our universities with research funding. We need to support our agricultural research services with funding so that they actually research and have and improve on these crops. If you look at products that have been developed by our researchers, whether it is maize or wheat, you find that they are more superior because they are indigenous and they have been produced in the climatic zone where the crop is going to be grown. So really expanding our research and supporting research is something that is key, and I hope that out of this bill, we can expand the research work that is going on. Of course, not to mention that extension services is extremely important, because it is one thing to raise very nice products, very nice seeds, and then if you don't have extension workers who can actually go from house to house, from farmer to farmer, to help them know the agricultural practices that will go along these crops, it becomes a problem. So we need to also expand that. These ones are very important because, again, extension service is something that is devolved. We are expecting our governors to start budgeting for not just the current crops that we have, but they need to start investing in extension staff in anticipation for these new crops that we are advocating, including the nuts that are here. We know that groundnuts grow everywhere in the country, but value addition has reduced our groundnuts to a snack for the country, a snack for children. And yet we know that when you are out of this country, a packet of groundnuts is something that is valued very highly, and it's something that people buy at a very high price, something that our farmers should be enjoying. Mr. Speaker, I don't want to take more than that, to say more than that, except to again thank our Senator Amhinda for coming up with a very beautiful bill, and I believe when it is passed, it is going to change the lives of many, many farmers and many, many Kenyans. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Julius Murko.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to also air my views along with those of my colleagues. May I also thank Senator Amida for coming up with the bill, and so I support. And I would like to say that the mindset of our people is that maybe people produce whatever they can produce wherever they are, according to areas and so on. And it may not be production that can meet a commercial market as such. And so there is really need for the nuts and oils to be industrialized, and the way to industrialize is to get people that are experts and have the knowledge about it to be able to help farmers produce in such a way that there is plentifulness in the production so that it attracts a market and it attracts moving around, marketing it, and to meet needs that plentifulness of it and can be able to meet. And then the other thing that needs to be added is to commercialize so that when produced in a given area, people change their mindset to commercialize, not just for consumption, because consumption can be very little in a given area. Take, for example, nuts in West Pokot. If one grows for consumption, it may not really be well spread, and it may not really be planted by many farmers or a lot of farmers. So when it is commercialized, it will be well spread, and people will be interested to even learn from the others that have planted it and commercialize. I remember when I was growing up, anything to do with maize was not well spread and not commercialized, but it was, it later on expanded, and people began to expand the area of cultivation because it was, the mindset began to be commercial. So when it became commercial, people increased it to get money attraction. And then also, somebody also mentioned about field workers. We remember from the old times when agricultural extensionists were very near to farmers, and therefore for improvement of crops, and especially cash crops, there is need for our graduates from universities to be able to attach to given areas that farm or that grow the crops, nuts and so on, even pyrethrum, as somebody said, so that people that have studied it have made have taken time to do a research, can be able to advise the farmers so that farmers get knowledge and skills from a very trained person and skilled person. And then also this will enhance quality so that quality is improved. Somebody mentioned of seeds that are produced out of scientific research that are superior to those that may be passed on locally and people keep locally, but quality is improved by facts of research. And then also quantity, so that people grow it in plenty and increase in areas out of expertise and advice from people that have knowledge about these crops. And then also processing is very essential, because without processing, it may not attract market as such, because processing will kind of attract required expectation for it to be able to be taken to the market and meet the expectation of the market, being processed, being clean, and being attractive. And so processing will also add value to the crops so that there is attractiveness to the market. And then also market where they go to and where they will be disposed to is also very essential, so that the productivity, the quantity and quality is kind of enhanced, because the market is ready. So I support. Thank you.
Senator Joseph Kithuku.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kuweza kunipatia fursa pia nami pia niweze kuchangia katika mjadala huu ambao ni muhimu sana, ambao unahusisha ukuzaji wa korosho, nazi na vitu vingine kama hizo. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi ningependa tu niweze kusema ya kwamba Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka nishukuru sana Senator Hamida kwa sababu ya kuweza kuleta mswada huu ambao umekuja kwa wakati unaofaa, wakati ambapo tulikuwa tunahitaji sana huu mswada sisi kama wakazi wa Pwani, kwa sababu bila shaka tunajua ya kwamba Pwani vitu ambavyo tunaongelea siku ya leo, vitu kama nazi, korosho ni kitega uchumi katika kanda yote ya mkoa wa Pwani, na bila shaka Mheshimiwa Spika, hii bili itasaidia sana kuona ya kwamba tumeweza kusaidia wakulima wetu ili waweze kuwa na kitega uchumi ambacho kimeweza kuzingatiwa kwa katiba na kisheria, vile ambavyo wanaweza kuuza mali yao na pia vile vile kuweza kukuza. Ningependa kusema kwamba Mheshimiwa Spika, ndio tuweze kusaidia wakulima wetu, serikali lazima kwanza kabisa iweze kuwasaidia wakulima kupitia kwa Ministry of Agriculture katika kufanya utafiti mwafaka ambao utakaosaidia wakulima wetu katika hali ya kuona ya kwamba wameweza kusaidika katika hali ya kupata mbegu mzuri kabisa ambayo itaweza kusaidia hawa wakulima katika mambo ya uzalishaji wa hizi korosho na hizi nazi ambazo Mheshimiwa Spika, zikizingatiwa vizuri zitaweza kuimarisha uchumi wa wakazi wa kaunti za Pwani na kuinginea katika Jamhuri yetu ya Kenya, mahali ambapo zinaweza kukuzwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, ninataka niseme kwamba mimi nimetoka katika kaunti ya Lamu, Mheshimiwa Spika, na Lamu imejumuishwa katika mojawapo ya kaunti ambazo zinaweza kutoa mbegu ama kutoa mazao mazuri kabisa katika uzalishaji wa korosho. Na Mheshimiwa Spika, tuko na kisiwa cha Faza kule Lamu Mashariki. Ni mahali ambapo panakuzwa korosho ambazo ni mzuri sana, zimefanywa utafiti na zimeweza kuibuka bora zaidi na safi zaidi, na korosho ambazo zinaweza hata kupelekwa katika nchi za nje kuweza kuuzwa katika mataifa ya kigeni, na bila shaka zinakuwa na hali ya kuleta mvuto mkubwa katika uchumi, katika kuimarisha uchumi wa wakazi wa kaunti ya Lamu. Mheshimiwa Spika, pia vile vile ningependa niseme ya kwamba ni muhimu sana serikali kupitia kwa Ministry of Agriculture iweze kusaidia kuona kwamba madawa ambayo atakayotumika katika kuona kwamba imesaidia wakulima wetu katika upande wa kunyunyizia, kwa sababu wakati mwingine unakuta kwamba ile mazao inavamiwa na wadudu ambao ni wadudu ambao wanazorotesha sana katika production ya ule mumea, na ningependa niseme ya kwamba ni mzuri sana Ministry of Agriculture iweze kuona kwamba imeweza kufanya utafiti, iweze kutoa madawa mzuri, madawa mwafaka kabisa ambayo yatakayosaidia kuona ya kwamba madawa hayo hayana madhara directly kwa mkulima, na pia vile vile hayana madhara katika environment Mheshimiwa Spika, na katika jambo hilo bila shaka tutaona kwamba yale mazao yataweza kupatikana kwa hali ya wingi na yataweza kusaidia wakazi wa sehemu mbalimbali. Mheshimiwa Spika, pia vile vile ningependa pia Mheshimiwa Spika niweze kusupport kwamba katika hali ya kutafuta market katika nchi za nje ni jambo ambalo pia litaweza kusaidia sana wakulima wetu waweze kuona kwamba wameweka bidii, kwa sababu hilo zao ni zao ambalo liko na demand, na serikali ikiwasaidia na iwasimamie na njia kwamba wanajua kwamba watakapokuza lile zao watapata market katika nchi za nje, bila shaka itakuwa ni jambo ambalo litasaidia sana wananchi wetu na katika Kenya mzima. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna jambo ambalo limekuwa likiendelea hapo awali. Kumekuwa kukija watu ambao wanakuja kununua hii mali kutoka nchi za nje, wanakuja kuexploit wananchi wetu katika kuona kwamba wamenunulia kwa bei ambayo sio mzuri. Kwa hivyo ni vizuri pia tuweke regulation mambo ya prices ili tuone kwamba wakati ambapo hilo zao linahitajika kupelekwa nchi za nje ama kuuzwa, bei imekuwa regulated ya kusaidia wananchi wetu ili waweze kujinufaisha kiuchumi. Mheshimiwa Spika, ningependa pia niweze kusema ya kwamba zao ambalo linajulikana zaidi katika mwamba wa pwani ni zao la coconut ama nazi. Mheshimiwa Spika, nazi ni kitega uchumi kikubwa cha wakazi wa pwani, ukianzia Mombasa, Kilifi na Lamu. Ni zao ambalo Mheshimiwa Spika limekuwa likisaidia sana hao wananchi. Kwa hivyo ningependa ni support sana hii bill ambayo imeletwa na Mheshimiwa Hamida, kwa sababu itaona kwamba hao wananchi wote wataweza kusaidika na kuona ya kwamba wakati wowote ule wameweza kuona kwamba serikali imeweza kuwashughulikia na kucontrol vile ambavyo watakavyokuwa wakiuza hili zao. Mheshimiwa Spika, ningependa tu niseme ya kwamba ninaunga mkono hii bill na tuweze kuona kwamba tumeipitisha kama Senate ili iweze kusaidia wananchi ambao sisi tumekuja hapa kuweza kuwakilisha. Mheshimiwa Spika, ningependa nikomee hapo na niseme ya kwamba hii ni bill ambayo imekuja kwa wakati mwafaka, wakati ambao unaofaa, na ni bill ambayo itakayosaidia wananchi wetu waweze kujiimarisha na kujiendeleza kiuchumi, ikizingatiwa kwamba mazao mengine kama vile sukari, kama vile macadamia na ziko na regulation ambazo zinasaidia wakulima. Hili ni zao ambalo halikuwa na regulation, lakini kwa sasa naona kwamba it is the best time kwamba wananchi wetu watapata fursa ya kusaidika, kuona kwamba wataona kwamba wameweza pia vile kushughulikiwa na kuwa considered na Senate hili. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Speaker, na support hii bill. Asante sana.
Thank you very much, Senator. Honorable Senators, we have come to the end of the debate and now call upon the mover to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to reply. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my colleagues, the honorable senators, for their contribution. I have taken note of all the contributions. I want to thank sincerely Senator Tabitha Mutinda, Senator Faki, Senator Mundigi, Senator Tabitha Keroche, Senator Murgo, Senator Kamara, and Senator Giduki for all their contributions. I hold them highly. I don't need to repeat all of them, but I've taken quite some bit of note, especially when it comes to research center. And research center has been repeated over and over again with all the senators that we may require a research center. And global marketing. Marketing is important. Then also remember that apart from marketing, when Senator Mugo contributed on skilled persons, the quality and the quantity increase. Then I also remembered the packaging. The packaging is also important on this because you may have quality product, but then if you have a packaging that is not more or less attractive to the eyes, what we say is that take, what attracts the eyes, what catches the eye. Then at times you may fail. So I've taken note on all that, especially the mindset of the people, and how we need to industrialize and moving around the marketing, and also commercialize and produce. Commercialize in productive areas and not only consumption. Senator Tabitha talked about export, and for true, where we fail is the exportation, because most farmers are exploited in terms of doing all the farming, but then the benefits are quite few in terms of exporting So exporting is quite key, and we are really hoping that the proposed board members are going to take, the key interest of the farmers in terms of exportation. In Mombasa or in the coast, Mr. Speaker, the women actually are the stakeholders, are the most stakeholders, because you may find the women are the ones who take the coconuts round in every house to sell them, so that at least they can pay their children's fees and the rest. So I feel strongly advocating for women that the women here are the beneficiaries, and the youth also will benefit instead of being branded of taking other substances. Then they would have time to do the work. So with all that, Mr. Speaker, like I said, I do not need to repeat, but everything that has been said has added value to my bill. I really appreciate them. I really want to thank you, Mr. Speaker, for having that time and patience. And so I want to request, Mr. Honorable Speaker, that pursuant to Standing Order 66.3, I request that putting of the question be deferred to a later date. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well, Senator. We shall defer the division to a later date. Honourable Senators, at this point I will rearrange the order paper so that we proceed to call on order number 21. Clerk.
Order number 21, motion. Report of the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the status of implementation of projects funded by the conditional grant for the construction of county headquarters.
Chairperson, Committee on Finance and Budget.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do beg to move that the Standing Committee adopts the report on the status of implementation of the projects funded by the conditional grant for the construction of county headquarters for the 5 counties. Mr. Speaker, this is a process that started during the Second Senate in 2015, just after devolution. Its aim was aimed to establish county offices. And in that regard, at that particular time, an ad hoc committee was set so that it could be able to give a report on the counties that really needed headquarters, because, some of them actually moved into the de facto government offices and some other colonial offices, and they had something to start, but there are 5 counties that did not have anything to use as offices, Mr. Speaker. In that regard, the Ministry of Infrastructure at that time, Public Works more specific, was also involved in this particular process, Mr. Speaker, and the 5 counties that were affected or that were identified to have need for the headquarters were 5, that is Lamu County, there's the county of Nyandarua, there's the county of Isiolo, Tharaka Nithi, and also Tana River, Mr. Speaker. These counties, at the advent of did not inherit any adequate facilities from the de facto government, Mr. Speaker. In the budget implementation by then, Mr. Speaker, it was agreed that the national government, that is Treasury, will be able to support these counties with 70% of the funds, and then the counties themselves would contribute 30% of that funding, depending on the bill of quantities that the Public Works would have advised, depending on the size and many other factors of the need of each of the counties of the 5, Mr. Speaker. In that, the county headquarters project was originally scheduled and to be completed at a cost of 518 million in the initial, starting with the financial year 2016-17, 17-18, and 18 and 19, Mr. Speaker. It has been quite a disappointment for the last 8 years, Mr. Speaker, because the time that was set actually lapsed and the completion was not done. And
some of the contractors who had actually been awarded some of these contracts left the site, a site that the contractors have left, and also a site that is just a shell that the people of those 5 counties are not able, were not, or have, even up to now, have not been able to use these particular offices, Mr. Speaker. And so, in this particular 13th Senate, on July 4th, Mr. Speaker, the Council of Governors did appear to our committee, and they were able to put or table their issues that have caused the delays, citing issues that ranged from the Department of Public Works as key challenges, among others, like the issue of delayed disbursement. Actually, not even delayed, like there has been no more disbursement because there were hindrances by the Public Works then. So, Mr. Speaker, the committee considered the matter and resolved to follow up the matter and recommended for a way forward, Mr. Speaker, and consequently, we convened so many meetings as far as these counties were concerned. And, Mr. Speaker, it's good to note that none of the members that sit in the Finance and Budget Committee actually represent any of these counties. But the committee really embarked and called in different stakeholders, that is National Treasury, Economic Planning, and then also the State Department of Public Works, the governors from the beneficiary counties, and the IGRTC committee led by its chair, Mr. Speaker. So, in the consideration, the committee, as a committee, we were able to point out a few observations, one of them being the 8 years delay that has been there. The issue of that the 5 counties up to now, whatever they have, these are shells that are in place, Mr. Speaker. So the national government was expected to contribute 121 million for the 3 financial year, which was totaling to 1.8 billion for the 5 county. However, as at the end of last financial year, which is 2022-2023, the disbursement from the national government was just 837 million only. And so the balance of 977 has still been outstanding, whereby 454, as we speak, after our push as a committee, has been allocated to the county government as additional allocation for this particular financial year 23-24, and the balance of 445 million has been allocated to the next financial year 24-25, Mr. Speaker. So there leaves a balance of about 78 million. We were able to cite the issues of inflation, putting in mind that the cost that had been in place as BQ 8 years ago cannot be currently the same. But the committee was able to agree with the governors of the respective counties that they will be able to fund the remaining balances to completion despite the challenges of the inflation, so that there's a win-win. Otherwise, then the projects will just lag behind and will not be able to benefit anybody, Mr. Speaker. The other issue on intergovernmental agreements framework entered into by beneficiary counties and the State Department of Public Works had posed a real challenge in effective implementation of the projects. For instance, counties were to enter into contract with the contractor, but the payments to the contractor were to be made directly to the contractor by the State Department. These were some of the challenges that the governors had really raised as far as the projects were concerned. The committee also noted the challenges faced by the projects and submission by the various stakeholders and recommended the following: that the intergovernmental agreements framework for the implementation of the project should be revised to ensure expeditious completion of the project. And secondly, that the IGRTC should spearhead the process of revision of the intergovernmental agreements that ensure that the projects are officially handed over to the beneficiary counties, the 5 beneficiary counties as earlier mentioned. Further, the IGRTC should submit monthly status report to the Senate. The National Treasury also, State Department of Public Works and Council of Governors in cooperation with IGRTC should ensure the transfer of the project is expedited. Mr. Speaker, what I'm simply trying to say is that we brought harmony among these different stakeholders so that we are able to achieve, or they are able to achieve, the goal, which was to have the county headquarters. Mr. Speaker, as a committee, we further recommended that overall responsibility of the project management, including supervision monitoring and payment of contractors of the respective projects should be handed over to the respective beneficiary county governments. This was based on the fact that at the end of the day, they're the owners, they're the users of this particular, and you could see the passion and the need that came from the council of, not the council of government, but the governors of those respective 5 counties, and that's why they say only the wearer of the shoes know where it pinches most, and so they were in a better place to really understand and so to monitor and to supervise. National Treasury should also allocate all the remaining balance towards the projects by the next financial year, that is a county government additional allocation, which amounted to 523 million for the next financial year. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, the committee appreciated all the stakeholders, which we still appreciate up to now, because was it not for them to be able to come aboard? And I remember it was actually on a Friday where we were seated in this particular chamber. We were able to deliberate, to have a closure as the 13th Parliament, to be able to ensure these 5 counties are able to complete and have their headquarters, because it has been long overdue and the structures are actually depleting if they continue being in the same state as they've been for that long period. With those I do request the senators to approve this report to ensure beneficiary counties are in charge of the construction project, and this will ensure expeditious completion of the projects. At this time, I do beg my colleague in the same committee, request Senator of Mombasa, Senator Faki, to second this particular motion. Thank you, Speaker.
Senator Faki.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I wish to second the report of the Finance and Budget Committee of the Senate regarding the adoption of the report on the status of implementation of projects funded by the conditional grant from the construction of the county headquarters in Nyandarua, Isiolo, Tharaka Nithi, Lamu, and Tana River counties. Honorable Speaker, the committee had held extensive negotiations with the concerned counties, and 4 of the counties were very cooperative, Honorable Speaker, except Tana River, where the governor, despite being invited on 3 occasions, he failed to honor the invitations, and we proceeded to consider the matter without their input. Honorable Speaker, we got very valuable input from the Minister of Public Works, the IGRTC, and also the county governments involved, because these projects were supposed to be jointly funded by the national government and also the county government. The county governments contributing about 30% of the total cost of the construction. However, the national government was not able to meet its obligations under the terms of the projects, and therefore most of the projects stalled. In fact, many had stalled to such an extent that counties that started their own county headquarters later were able to finish and move in, yet these others were still pending. Honorable Speaker, after very much discussions and deliberations, the national government agreed to hand over the projects to the county governments and also hand over whatever was pledged for the construction of this project. So now it is the responsibility of the county governments to be able to conclude these projects, and therefore this report should be adopted by the committee, so that by the plenary, so that the implementation can start and the county governments are able to do and conclude their county headquarters. Honorable Speaker, it's an issue that has bothered the committee, that the projects took so long, and the fact that in some instances the supervision was done by the Public Works, and therefore there was a lot of go and return, and in some instances some of the contractors who were given the jobs gave up and they moved on. However, in some cases, Honorable Speaker, some of the contractors are still